So, what does this story about myself, Angela Barnett, and Joe Barnett being in Monterey and opening the first ascension portal, what does this story have to do with Mother Gaia shifting into a new timeline that will save her life? Mother Gaia has actually been placed within a timeline where she would self-destruct, where she would be destroyed, where the original plant Death Star Nibiru would be in alignment with her and would destroy her, because that was always the plan of the Death Star Nibiru, taking Mother Gaia out at about this time, because the original creation of the Death Star Nibiru was for the destruction of the original Christic race line, the Elohim race line. While I'm speaking of Elohim, I want you all to know that that word is pronounced differently on different planets throughout the universe. And my spirit guide actually pronounces it Elohim, not Elohim. When I speak to Yeshua ben Joseph, he always says Elohim. But when I speak to Elika, he says Elohim. And when I speak to Syrians and other star systems, Treb says Elohim. So that name has been in our universe for billions of years, and it has many pronunciations. I know most of you know it as Elohim. So sometimes I say Elohim, and sometimes say Elohim, because I'm speaking to a lot of entities from different planets, and I mix up the pronunciation because they pronounce it differently every time I talk to a different one. So that's why it's not always Elohim when I speak. I most often say Elohim because that's mostly what Elika says. So this is all about the Elohim race line, which was the race line which is the closest to God. The El in Elohim means God. Elohim means the closest race line to God, the 12th dimensional race line, the pure Christic consciousness of that 12th dimensional consciousness. But of course there is a dimension higher than the 12th, which is the 13th, and higher than the 13th is the 14th, and higher than the 14th is the 15th. But the creation team from the God world, which is the cosmic realm, those were the Melchizedeks, who were the light creators of the idea of the Elohim. So those of us who originally were the creators of the Elohim, including Mary Magdalene, Yeshua ben Joseph, and Elika, we were the team. Elika was called himself the creator of the Mary and Joseph story, because he is always the first one to come when Yeshua ben Joseph and I are doing a project together. He increases my frequencies on the frequency level, the physical frequency level, and then Yeshua ben Joseph brings in the spiritual frequency of the 12th dimension. So at this time we're working together as that trio group, bringing in these original frequencies that were the creation of the entire Elohim race line idea, the Christic race line idea. So first it was the Elohim race line, and then that race line was destroyed by wars in heaven billions of years ago, and then it was recreated again in Gaia as the Oraphim race line, and then that race line was mostly destroyed again. And so now we have been working on this seeding called the third seeding. This is the end of the third seeding of trying to bring this original Christic race line, the Elohim consciousness, the closest consciousness to God, the closest resemblance to the God world reality, to be demonstrated on all other dimensional levels of reality. So what this first Ascension Portal project in Monterey has to do with this entire shift of Mother Gaia into a new timeline, which will not only save her life, but will bring back to life the original Elohim Christic consciousness on Earth, and it is removing the Nibiru star reality, or the alignment with that version of reality no longer exists in our timeline. We are recreating a new timeline, which is the timeline that existed billions of years ago, like 900 billion years ago, before these first wars broke out between the 11th and 12th star, Avion and Aramentana, where was the first star. The 11th and 12th stars systems had wars, and that's what began all these problems. So you see, this problem didn't begin at this level of the Earth. Like if there was a scale of 1 to 12, and this Earth was the 1, the lowest part of the problem began at the 12th part. So all 12 star systems were affected by this, because once one star system has its race line completely removed and destroyed and distorted and replaced by fallen angelic consciousness, that results in the hybrid races that are created from then on no longer being the pure essence of the Elohim. So that's what has happened over the billions of years. That original perfect Christic consciousness has just become more and more distorted over war after war after war, and destroying our angelic race line millions of times in many star system, and which has just resulted in just horrific realities. And so that reality, that horrific timeline, has to be completely removed. Not just one element, not just one war, not just one part of it. The entire reality, everything clear back through the original breath of creation, back when our group, who is now known as Yeshua ben Joseph, Mary Magdalene, Elika, when we first started this plan 950 billion years ago to bring this consciousness into the entire universe, it has to be put back on that original timeline, that version of reality, before any of the problems existed. So in order for this perfect reality to be returned to the earth, we have to align with that original perfect consciousness that still existed when Aramentana, the 12th sun, was still perfect, was still in her perfect form. And the 11th sun, before any wars, before the 11th, and before that affected the 10th sun, and it affected the 9th sun. So all of these suns and star systems that were distorted from that original war between the 11th and 12th suns has to completely be dissolved into the original template, the original idea, the original God creation of the perfect kingdom of heaven throughout the entire cosmos. So that is how the cosmic twins began this part of shifting Mother Gaia into a new timeline which would save her life. Because we have been trying to save this universe and save this race line for over 900 billion years, and this was our last chance. This was the last chance it could happen. If Mother Earth blew up this time, if Nibiru was able if we were still on the timeline where Nibiru was going to blow up this planet, this race line, the Elohim race line, would never be able to be restored again. This was our last chance. And Mary Magdalene was placed on earth at this time to be responsible for this shift in reality, for this to happen. Mary Magdalene is attached to all of the consciousness for the past 900 billion years that has been the Elohim race line, and before that the Melchizedek race line. So the Mary Magdalene soul of Mary Magdalene and the spiritual self of Mary Magdalene is connected to every race line and every thing that ever happened during this time. Mary Magdalene has been on the crew to save this race line, and the crew to realign the crews that have perfected this race line. And so this consciousness of Mary Magdalene had to be the one to be placed on earth at this time to reconnect with the perfect alignment, not reconnect to the version of reality that took place through these distortions in our original race lines, but to connect my consciousness directly back to the original God kingdom where that perfect creation exists, and design the ascension portal to begin from the mind of God, from the God world, the perfect creation, where that perfect idea existed, and once again run that portal clear from the mind of God into Mother Gaia. And there needs to be 12 of these ascension portals run into Mother Gaia through each of the 12 star systems to reconnect a perfect version of reality where none of those wars ever happened, where there was no disease, where there is no imperfection, where there is just the original DNA, the original Christic template of the Elohim original Christic race line. That 12-coded race line made in the image and likeness of God, created from the orbs of light of the cosmos, which was called the Melchizedek race line. Actually, Yeshua ben Joseph calls it the God world, and Elika calls it the first creation in the God world, and they don't actually use these terms that are used down here, but they call it the God world. So returning to the orbs of light of the cosmic dust, the angelic vapor that creates the stardust, the consciousness, that beautiful, perfect consciousness of the original creation that is based completely and perfectly on the image and likeness of Mother, Father, God, in all of the forms of love, forms of instant manifestation of anything that is desired by any creation of God. Mother, Father, God created this creation where His children would have everything that they desire. That is who we really are. We are a creation created by Mother, Father, God, who can create anything our hearts desire, who manifest through every breath we take what we desire. We live in love and freedom and infinite supply, and we have the intelligence of all of the consciousness, all of the angelic consciousness that exists within our universe and within our cosmos. That is who we really are. And the only way to return that consciousness, that Christic consciousness of the Elohim, the Jesus and Mary story in the Bible left out what Jesus and Mary were actually doing on earth 2,000 years ago. At that time, we were also restoring the ascension portals to earth of our race line, of one part of our race line that had been disconnected by the wars. Each time there was a war, there was a piece of our consciousness disconnected. The pieces of the consciousness were the pieces of the consciousness of the Palladian race line, or the Andromeda race line, or Arcturian race line, or the Lyran race line. Each time one of these pieces of our consciousness was removed or distorted, there had to be members of our security team coming to Earth to realign that consciousness back into the Earth. So that is what we are here on Earth doing again. I am working as the Mary Magdalene Christic consciousness that has within my soul all of the families that are within this Elohim consciousness, clear up to the 12th dimension and up to the 14th dimension of creation within my soul. So because I have this reality within me, and I'm standing on Earth, and I'm already connected through these Christic ley lines and grids, and I have this family of consciousness with me. I am the one who is here that they are working through to reopen all 12 portals. So you heard the story of opening the first ascension portal in Monterey, and as we were opening that portal, there were 3 groups of race lines that possessed Joe's body, and that was for the purpose of the demonic race lines still taking control of the consciousness of Mother Earth, so that the Elohim consciousness could not be returned to Earth. And this is that element of opening the portals has happened over and over and over again for millions of years, and that is why when the Mary Magdalene's soul came from the cosmos down into this density, we were to remember that when a demonic possession takes over a race line, only the female soul can rescue the male soul. And all of the demons know this, all of fallen angelics know this, that if they take the female part of the twin soul that has come down, they can take over that portal again. And if they take over the portal, they can take over the race line. And that is what they were trying to do on the first ascension portal. So we had a plan before Elika, Yeshua, and I made a plan before we left the cosmos to come down into the earth and have a mission that would remove those demonic race lines forever. And each time in the past when demonic race lines would enter a body, the only way to get rid of them was for that body to die. And so the demonic race lines knew that, and they had always possessed the female half of the soul, because if they could take her and take over her soul, they would be able to take over the race line, and then eventually her body would die, but they would already have their entire race line here. So this time we deceived the demons by making them believe that Joe was the female part of the soul. So the demons took over Joe's body. Elika did something to make them believe that he was the one that they wanted. And so we knew as a team that if they took Joe's body, that I would be able to connect my soul with Joe and bring him back. And we knew this was a dangerous mission. We knew that Joe might die. We knew that the only way to get rid of demons was for the body to die. And we had never done this. This was an experiential project of seeing if we could get the person back alive after the return of the demons to source. So this was an experiential mission, and we didn't know if Joe was going to make it or not, but that is what we came to Earth for. So the mission was successful. We did remove the demons. We did open the first ascension portal. And then something always good happens out of something bad. So as a part of what happened when Joe died and returned the demons, and then I reached my soul back up into my higher self soul to reconnect that soul into Joe's other half. We actually became one again. So I brought my entire soul back into Joe this time. And by doing this transaction of bringing in the consciousness, the soul from the higher self, that strengthened our frequencies, Joe's frequencies to be 2,400 times higher than any other person on Earth, and my frequencies to be 2,400 times stronger. So together we have these frequencies, these super frequencies that are 4,800 times stronger than any other one human individual unit on Earth. And what these frequencies are used for are actually what plants this consciousness, this Christic consciousness back into the earth through the grids. So that's one thing we're doing. Each time we breathe this angelic consciousness into the human consciousness grids, we are activating that consciousness 4,800 times per unit of person on earth. So we're breathing that into 7 billion people every time we breathe. And then the other part of this high frequency that we now have, this is what Elika and Yeshua have been explaining to us for the last few months, is that now that our frequencies are this strong, now Elika can work through us to take those frequencies, and then he actually runs his own consciousness through our frequencies and takes those frequencies to the place where the portals are to be created. And he takes our frequencies and he amplifies them again, even stronger, and connects them with the Yeshua ben Joseph frequencies. So now we have the 12th dimensional Elohim frequencies at their highest spiritual level through Yeshua ben Joseph, running through the Mary Magdalene frequencies at the 3rd and 4th dimensional level. And then we have Elika strengthening those frequencies through his immortal template. He is the spirit guide who has been with me for billions of years. We have done portal projects together before, and we have combined our frequencies before, so he is very familiar with my consciousness and my being. So we have done this before, and so my Akashic records, my soul is very familiar with this process. Apparently I have done this millions of times before. So something within me knows exactly how to do this. We are a very familiar team. Yeshua and Elika and I have been doing projects like this before. So they know how to use my resonance on this planet and connect to me, connect through the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th levels of frequencies running into my body. And then that is what drills these holes, creates these portals. But they have to have someone who is on earth to do this, because only those who are standing on Mother Earth, only those who have been born on Mother Earth can create a portal on Mother Earth. So that is why I needed to be here at this time. So there needed to be a Mary Magdalene. I am the only Mary Magdalene. There's a lot of people that say they're Mary Magdalene, but they're not. And There are several recordings on my YouTube channel, on the Mary Magdalene Singing Mermaid channel. I have recordings from when I'm talking with Elika and with Yeshua ben Joseph about this project and about who I am, and they both made it very clear that the only reason that they are working with me is because I am Mary Magdalene. And if somebody else was Mary Magdalene, they would be doing the portals through them, not through me. So that is how we all know that I am the only Mary Magdalene on earth. There are other aspects of me, but I am the only Mary Magdalene. There's a spiritual self of Mary Magdalene, of course. But that's Mary Magdalene, my higher self. Now that's the higher self that Joe went into to reconnect my soul into Joe, but it was still my soul. It had to be my soul from this fourth dimensional consciousness connected to my soul in the 15th dimensional consciousness, because I am one. I am the same Mary Magdalene this lifetime as I was when I was an Oraphim 400 million years ago. I'm the same Mary Magdalene that I was 2,000 years ago. I am the same Mary Magdalene that I was 950 billion years ago. Now, there were different names every lifetime. The only reason we're using the name Mary Magdalene at this time instead of Angela Barnett, it's actually Angela Barnett who's doing this portal building on Earth at this time. The reason the Mary Magdalene name is used is because that is the name that is known on Gaia for this project. There was I had different names. I lived on Alpha Centaurian and Orion and Centaurus and Mylor and Orion. I lived on all of the planets, and I had different names there, and every lifetime on those planets I had different names, and in my lifetimes on this planet I had different names. I was a student of Saint Germain on this planet, where I learned or taught. I taught together with Saint Germain many of the same things I'm teaching at this time. I taught with Yeshua ben Joseph in my school. It was the Magdalene Mystery School that I taught with Yeshua ben Joseph. So these have always been my mystery schools. They've always been the female Christ leading this ascension plan together with the male Christ. And the reason we had to have the male-female Christ partnership is there always has to be one with holding the grids on Earth to connect to the higher frequencies on different dimensions. And so the 12th dimensional frequency is being held through the son of Aramentana at this time, but the spiritual parallel consciousness is being held by the Mary Magdalene higher self and the Yeshua ben Joseph. And he is working with me and communicating with me, and every time I do portal work, Yeshua ben Joseph is immediately with me, and Elika is immediately with me. And they've asked me to call on them before I start this work. And the recordings where they explain these things to me, explain how to do this, explain what was going on, explain to me who I am, is on these other recordings on the Mary Magdalene Singing Mermaid YouTube channels. That's what those other recordings are about. Those are my discussions with Yeshua ben Joseph and with Elika, guiding me through this creation project of the ascension portals. So after we finished that first portal in Monterey, and Joe was in this state of recovery for about 5 years, then a voice started talking to me again. It was Elika began to speak to me, and we had always called this entity Marcus. And Elika said there are 27 of these angelic consciousness there talking to us. And so Marcus is talking to us sometimes, Zorak is talking sometimes it's Michael, sometimes it's Uriel, sometimes it's Ariel. So there's a lot of these entities communicating with us about different subjects. So in 2000, what is this? It's 2016, 2014, about November 2014, Alika told me, you need to get a book written about what has happened because we are completing this mission now. So that is when I wrote the 12 DNA, the music of the spheres, the Ascension Programming Training from the Cosmic Twins Diary. That was the book I wrote. That was the book that Alika was asking me to write, to tell the story of what happened, tell the story of what happened in Monterey, tell the story of how I was told that I was bringing the Mary consciousness back, and that was the home of Mary, and that was where the mermaid and the dolphin story happened, and to tell this scientifically and to give all of the data of creation of what's going on in the 12th dimension, the 48th dimension, bringing back our 48 DNA or 96 DNA, creating the new version of reality. That was when he told me to write those things in that book. But I could only write, my present understanding of that. So I wrote that book, and then in 2015, I gave a lecture about that book at a spiritual healing conference. I forgot the name of it. Oh, the New Life Expo in San Mateo in 2015. And I told about that book, and I told about this same story of what happened when we were opening the ascension portals and how we returned these demons back to source. And then that evening that we returned from San Mateo, we were flying home, and then we picked up our car in Woodland, and then we were driving home. Our entire drive home, we were able to see this huge entity standing on a cloud. We were driving home on Highway 45, which parallels Highway 5 going towards Mount Shasta. So we were driving on 45, and our whole drive home, there was this entity, this huge entity standing on top of a cloud. So he's on top of a cloud, so that means he's at least 10,000 feet high himself, because if you could put himself under himself again. So 10,000 feet is the top of a mountain. That is what is called a vortex. All entities, when they come into the Earth's consciousness, they come through a vortex. There's a vortex that's 10,000 feet above the Earth's crust, and then the other vortex is within the Earth's crust. So Elika was standing on top of Mount Shasta, because anytime a spaceship comes in and out of Earth, it always has to go through this vortex within a mountaintop. They don't have to use a mountaintop. There's a lot of invisible portal stations on Earth, but he was using the portal station of Mount Shasta, and he was standing on top of it, and he was standing there, and it looked like he was holding a rod in his left hand, and with his right hand looked like points of light, like a rainbow pointing out towards the Pacific Ocean, and he was communicating with us. He was telling us something about the ascension, something about being guardians, because that's the sign of holding the rod and the staff, like he was showing us. But and there were these different colors. There was a golden light and a green light and a red light. So I knew this had to do with dimensions or colors of the rainbows or ascension. And so he was trying to communicate with us that we needed to continue opening more portals in the Pacific Ocean. So we were driving home from the workshop, and we were enjoying watching this entity in the sky, and we felt like, wow, we must have really done a good job with our lecture, because we've got the entire God world watching us. And so we knew something big had happened. We didn't know exactly who this entity was. We didn't know if he was trying to show us that when Joe did this project that he had actually ascended and that was his ascended body. We had many guesses about what had happened. So I kept guessing what had happened for about a year, and then I finally arranged a channeling session with Rob Gauthier, who channels several very powerful beings, and I set up a channeling with him to ask the question, who was the entity standing on the cloud in front of us when we were driving home from the San Mateo conference in 2015? And the name was given Elika. And so that was my first time I met Elika. That was May 2016, was when I finally had the channeling to make my connection with Elika. So through that channeling, they didn't connect me with Elika. They just connected me with getting the information. They were talking through an entity to him to get the information for me. So in that channeled session, I found out that his name was Elika, that he had been working with me on these ascension portal projects, and that was when he told me that I was the only one that could open the portals because I was Mary Magdalene. He said, you are the only one that has high enough frequencies to do this because you are Mary Magdalene. That was the first time I was directly told, you are Mary Magdalene, and that is why you're opening ascension portals. That was May 2016. So I said, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then he said, you were the one who saved California from having the earthquake in 2015. There was supposed to be an earthquake in San Diego. There was a 90% chance that there would be an huge earthquake, a 9.2 earthquake in San Diego in 2015, in the summer of 2015. That was what was in the grids of Earth at that time. The alignment of the Earth grids would have created a 9.2 earthquake. So that is what I gave my lecture on in San Mateo. I told them there was going to be a 9.2 earthquake in San Diego, in California that year, and that picture of me holding the violet sphere of planting that ascension portal in Monterey, that violet flame, was when I was bringing in the consciousness of the fifth sun, the Palladian sun Alcyon, that fifth dimensional energy, plugging it into Earth and combining that with the fifth dimensional energy of the dolphins holding that light within the oceans of the Pacific Ocean at the time, is what created that stationary ability to start shifting the tectonic plates so that less of these earthquakes would happen. That is what we were doing in Monterey. Each time we do a portal, we're helping shifting the tectonic plates into a better arrangement for less earthquakes and for the arrangements to open these portals. We open these portals by shifting tectonic plates. So these are the things that Elika explained to me in many of these dialogues that I've recorded on the Mary Magdalene Singing Mermaid YouTube channels. The ones titled Opening the Portals, and the ones Mary Magdalene speaking to her spirit guide, and the ones Saving Mother Gaia, and Portals Saving Gaia. These are all discussions about shifting tectonic plates, because if we didn't get this arrangement of the tectonic plates which are causing these earthquakes, and we can't stop the earthquakes because there's so many of these tectonic plates moving up and down and left and right, and we never know which way they're moving because there are entities from thousands of other planets and galaxies using their technology helping us stabilize the Earth at this time. But because there's so many variables working, we never know which way these tectonic plates are going, and we're just juggling them around and trying to balance them as much as we can. But just the work that Joe and I did in opening that one portal in Monterey eliminated a 9.2 earthquake in San Diego. So what Elika said was that we were 67% of the reason that we did not have an earthquake, a 9.2 earthquake in California. And that earthquake was actually shifted into the energy that we created when we were in Monterey. We shifted that energy over into Oakland, and by shifting it around, there was only a 4-point-something earthquake in Oakland. Nobody was hurt, and the other pieces of the earthquake were shifted into the magnum plates of volcanoes, which lightens up the energy activation of these tectonic plates. So we've been shifting around. This is one of the things that Yeshua ben Joseph, Mary Magdalene, and Elika have been working on for the last 10 years of balancing these tectonic plates. So that was the first piece of information that I got Elika, that we were 67% of the reason that earthquake didn't happen. The other percentage was all of the other grid workers that were doing a lot of grid work in California and in the rest of the world. So that shows you how many more frequencies, how much more powerful the energy running through this Mary Magdalene template is than the energy running through other grid workers, other star seeds on Earth. This is just an immense amount of energy running through this template, and it is not easy maintaining this much energy. It's not like being a normal person. It's like being responsible for an entire universe, which I am. I am responsible for saving Mother Gaia. I am responsible for making sure I am actively working on opening these portals continuously until they are all open in November. If these 12 ascension portals are not open by November, Mother Gaia will not survive. I am setting the heroic future of this taking place. Yeshua ben Joseph and Elika said that, yes, of course it will happen. They have absolutely no doubt that Mary Magdalene will come through and open these ascension portals. They have told me this several times. So at least 2 of the 3 members of this team have total faith in Mary Magdalene. I personally don't have as much faith in myself as they do, because I am here as a 4th dimensional being here on Earth who has been practicing limitation all of my life, and so of course it's hard for me to believe I can do this. Here I am, Angela Barnett, opening 12 ascension portals to save Mother Gaia, all by my little self, together with my husband, who already died once and came back and is almost back to normal by now. He is wonderful. I will say he is wonderful. He is definitely, a Christic being. He's just nothing but love and light. But as far as the things that he used to know how to do, he doesn't know how to do the things he used to. So he's a different Joe. He knows how to do different things. He's extremely helpful to me. But there were a lot of things he did used to know how to do that he doesn't do anymore. So these are things that have shifted around in my life while I have been doing this. So this is what the story about saving Mother Gaia is about. It is about shifting her into a new timeline. Shifting her into a new timeline means shifting her consciousness into the timeline of where the original angelic human consciousness of the Elohim consciousness comes back into the grids of Earth, and that consciousness activates back into the grids of the human consciousness. The human consciousness grids are 12 inches below the crust of Earth, and the Elohim consciousness is in another set of grids in the subterranean layer right beneath those grids. And the more we return this Elohim consciousness into Earth, we're returning that consciousness down below the human consciousness grids into the Elohim consciousness grids, which brings that consciousness into Mother Gaia. It is returning her consciousness. Mother Gaia was the home of the Elohim angels. That is who Mother Gaia is. Mother Gaia is the mother of the Elohim race line. She's not the mother of the Anunnaki race line. She's not the mother of the Zetas and the Draconians and all these other race lines who have invaded Earth and raped the women and created new hybrid races. That is not who she is. So when you transplant all these other race lines into the mother of the Elohim race lines, you're destroying her consciousness. So Mother Gaia has had amnesia of who she is because she had her race line removed from her. The Elohim race line was completely destroyed and then put back together again as the Oraphim race line in Gaia, and that's when I came to Earth 400 million years ago to return the Elohim race line, which was then the hybrid race line called the Oraphims. And that's when Joe and I came. When I was a mermaid, I came again directly from the cosmic consciousness. We broke into two parts. I was a mermaid and Joe was a dolphin, and Joe came from the Sun Law, the Oraphim Sun Law, or he came from Sun Ha and I came from Sun Law, but we were the violet sun. And so we returned this violet sun to Earth. When we were returning this violet sun of the 11th or the 6th and 7th, sons of the Oraphim race line. This is not the 12 sons, the original 12 sons of the Elohim Christ consciousness sons. That was a different group of sons than the 7 sons, the Oraphim sons. So these Oraphim sons of the first creation of this rebuilding the Elohim consciousness were these sons. And so we were together as this violet sun. So this picture of me on the back cover of the 12 DNA Music of the Spheres Ascension Training from the Cosmic Twins Diary book, which can be purchased at Amazon.com. There is a picture of me holding this violet sun. That violet sun is that sun of Ha and La. The Ha and La sun is the dolphinoid race line, Oraphim race line, came from Ha, and the humanoid mermaids came from the Sun La. So that's when we were Oraphims. Joe and I came as mermaids and a dolphin from Sons Ha and La, the violet suns. When we were in Monterey, we were reopening that portal of the mermaid dolphin portal, the first portal. That was called the Mary's spirit portal. That was where Mary was when she returned this consciousness of the Elohim race line 400 million years ago. And Joe and I were together then, and that's why we had to do this together again. We established that consciousness within the earth, within the Pacific Ocean. Same Pacific Ocean, except it's been densified It was more like an 8th dimensional consciousness Pacific Ocean at the time that we were here last time. It was a wonderful, glorious, perfect, blue, clear, pristine, perfect world. Everything was perfect here. Absolutely perfect. We just lived in love and joy and happiness, and we just played and danced and created, and we created the oceans, and they looked more like the Disney version of reality at that time. So that is why we returned the violet sun, the Ha-and-La violet flame sun, and as we were returning this, the dolphins and the whales in the Pacific Ocean at that time, they were working with us, and we had a problem at that time because there were so many dolphins and whales trying to get to us. They would actually beach themselves on the beach around our condo, and then the military, the Navy, would kill them because they were there. I don't know why they were killing them, but anyway, we kind of had to hide from the whales and dolphins because we were like a magnet to them. And there was this seal that used to come up, and she would follow me around, and she'd follow me to my apartment, and she kept trying to push me into the water to swim with her because she wanted to go show me where all the problems were that needed to be fixed. And my astral, every time I go to sleep at night, I'm doing this astral work with these dolphins and whales in the ocean, and I'm seeing where the grid work needs to be done, and I'm seeing the alignments that the dolphins are making with the dolphin councils, the Pleiadian dolphin councils, which is what's holding this 5th dimensional light on the earth, is through our oceans. And so the power of our ocean is what is holding us within the light, within this consciousness, this 5th dimensional consciousness. So that is where I go at night in my astral body. So I'm always working with these dolphins and whales. So they know me very well. So I've had dolphins jump in boats with me and crawl up on beaches, and seals follow me around. I've had this all my life, and I had no idea why this was going on until I found out that I was the Mary Magdalene, who was the mermaid, and Joe was the dolphin, and we knew all these dolphins and whales, and they have such a high dimensional consciousness that they remember us, and they remember me, and with them in the night times, working with them. So they know us very well. So that is why I am called Mary Magdalene Singing Mermaid, because this is what we do at night. We sing the trinary language, which is this language of infinite meaning. Each sound that the dolphins make has infinite meaning, and when we speak, we're actually speaking to our councils in the Pleiades. So our voice is heard light years away. It's a trinary language that saturates the universe, and everybody in the universe knows what we're saying, and the consciousness echoes back to us from the meaning of all realities, and it's always reprogramming itself to align us more and more harmonically. So these are the things that I work on at night when I'm asleep, and so I'm usually more tired in the morning than I am when I go to sleep at night, because I do so much work at night, and I usually do a lot of time traveling to the future, thousands of light years in the future and thousands of light years back, and I'm aligning with all this consciousness of everyone I have been and everyone I will be, to create this new timeline for Mother Gaia. And so the first part of the mission was removing the demons from entering the first ascension portal, and I'm assuming that they're not going to be trying this again on the other ascension portals. I'm just assuming that that's been taken care of. So we opened 3 of the portals, and then Leica needed to talk to us again, because he needed to make sure that we were ready to continue opening the portals at this time. So that's what happened after I had the first channeling session with Leica. He started talking to me more about what the plans were, and then he told me that I was Mary Magdalene and that I was also working with Yeshua ben Joseph on this time. And so that's when I arranged for a channeling session with Yeshua ben Joseph to ask him about my time with him as Mary Magdalene, so I could start remembering more of who I am. And then I started talking to him about how he's working with me on opening these ascension portals. And then when I first talked to Yeshua ben Joseph, he sounded very concerned about how concerned he was with making sure these portals were open. I get a very different feeling from Leica. Leica just knows me so well, and we've opened so many portals before that he just has no doubt, that I can do this and that I will do this because I've always done this and I know how to do this. But Yeshua, when I speak to him, I always feel like he's a little concerned that if this project is not completed, Mother Gaia will not survive. He tells me that every time I talk to him. So he's still sounding concerned, so I need to also be concerned and make sure I work as hard as possible on opening these portals. And so I try to get into this consciousness, activate my cosmic consciousness, and work on this portal project as much as possible. But it has been very difficult to me because when a person learns who they really are, when they learn they're someone totally different than who they thought they were, when they learn they have a responsibility as big as saving a universe, they naturally go through culture shock. They go through a shock of seeing reality from a different point of view, a different perspective, which shakes up their entire old reality, which makes living a little difficult. So the same time period when I'm being told that I'm in charge of saving the world, in charge of finishing opening these ascension portals, and learning that I am Mary Magdalene, which is really shaking me up and making it harder than ever to do my work, is the same timeline when these ascension portals must be opened, and it is a matter of saving Mother Gaia. It is a matter of saving the Elohim angelic race line. This is not just something that just automatically happens. These things happen because entities are actually working on making them happen. Human beings have been brainwashed into thinking, oh, God does everything. Whatever God's going to do, that's what God's going to do, and we just accept it, and we don't do anything. God does everything for us. Well, that's not true. Everybody is doing something or not doing something. They're supposed to be doing something. But we are all here at this time on earth because we are the souls of beings who have been here in the past, and we are here to make a new timeline of reality. We are here to make a perfect new timeline, bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth, which is what the original plan was that this Elohim race line, this perfect angelic race line, which doesn't mean they're just 12th dimensional angels flying around. It means a race line that was repeated in each dimension. The Elohim race line is our race line. It's not some far off race line and we're the humans element of it. We are the human element of it, but our race line is the Elohim race line. Well, more recently, the Oraphim race line. But that is who we are. We were created as that race line to be replicated in all dimensions. And we are not just one of the dimensions of that reality. We are all of the dimensions of that reality. Just like Mary Magdalene is here now in this 4th dimensional body, and Mary Magdalene is also 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. She is in all dimensions, and she's in all spiritual dimensions, but it's still me. Mary Magdalene is the soul of who I am now, and was the soul of who I was when I was Yeshua, and is the soul of who I was when Mother, Father, God created me. My soul was called, God named my soul, of the breath of light. That is who I am now. That is who I've been for billions and billions and billions of years. I am the same soul now as I was then. And that is what everyone else needs to learn from this story. You all need to learn that you are the same soul that you were for billions of years, or some millions of years. Some entities are younger souls than others. When we talk about old souls and younger souls, we're talking about some souls are billions of years old and some souls are millions of years old. That is because the creation projects, even though there's some of us who are Melchizedeks who are here at this time, who are from the God world, who were orbs of light, and our souls came down to densities to do this project. Other souls on this earth are souls from the Pleiades, because they're the closest race line to the earth, the fifth dimensional, which is where the sun Alcyon was the creator of our original consciousness in the Pleiadian system. And that star that was created by Sun Alcyon was the star that exploded, came into the Milky Way, and became the Earth and the other 12 stars. It came from the Pleiades. That is why the Pleiadians see this as their localized project. So it is both a localized